Hello, everyone, and welcome to the She Shoots podcast, Women Empowering Women in the Shooting Community. It's season 5, and this is episode 48. It's Buyback or Blowback Guns, Government, and the Price of Politics. I'm one of your hosts, Kelly Melanson. Rahina is not with us this evening. She's taking a break, but tonight we also have Deneen Tomlin on. Say hi, Deneen.
Hey, everyone.
And also Casey Gavinchuk. So tonight's topic is going to be about the federal buyback, and we are happy to have with us Ian with us again. For those who've been to the show before, you might recognize Ian, or maybe if you watch YouTube and Runkle of the Bailey, you might be familiar with him. But before we get to that, what we're going to do is we're going to remind you that She Shoots we have our own new YouTube channel, our new Facebook page, as well as Instagram, and it's all under She Shoots, and you can find us easier now by searching that out and going and staying connected with us. We have lots of exciting episodes coming up this year, season 5, can't believe it. But we really want to hear from you as well. Tell us what guests you'd like to see, any upcoming topics that you'd like for us to cover as well. Other thing that we're going to be introducing as well is if you have upcoming ladies events or range days and you'd like us to promote it, why don't you connect with us through our email address, and I'm going to give that to you in just a second. But we're also looking for sponsors as well. If you'd like to sponsor the podcast, please reach out to us. We'd love to bring you on board. To connect with us, you can send us an email at she shoots podcasts. It's all one word at gmail.com. We're going to get into the interview here with Ian. And so, Deneen, why don't you introduce Ian for us?
I would love to do that. Thank you, Kelly. Super excited to be starting season 5 with the She Shoots podcast, and super excited about everything you had to share with our watchers and our listeners. So we're going to start off our new season and our new format with a very distinguished guest, somebody who, like you said, Kelly, is known to many, and it's a very timely topic tonight. So I get the pleasure of introducing you, Ian. I'm going to read your bio, and then we're going to get into some questions. So Ian Runkle is a criminal defense lawyer with a special interest in firearms and weapons law. He has taught classes on the subject at the University of Alberta and is a respected voice on these issues. Prior to his legal career, Ian received a BA in psychology from Simon Fraser University and then received his LLB from the University of Alberta. Ian is not just a lawyer. He is also a firearms owner, just like the rest of us. He is a competitive shooter and appreciates all the various shooting disciplines. And finally, Ian is a YouTuber with now over 331,000 subscribers and growing, and maybe it's even larger than that since the last time we talked. You can find his under Runkle of the Bailey as I trip over my tongue. Welcome to the show tonight, Ian.
Well, thank you, and yeah, it's good to be here. So this is the kind of thing that I think we need more of. So
yeah, I think so too. I think particularly with who our demographic is. I did check that number is up to date as of today. So excellent. Congratulations on that huge number. It grew about 100,000 from the last time you were on the show, which was episode 17. So that was 2 years ago. Was it really 2 years ago? Yeah, it was 2 years ago. So for those of you who don't know who Ian is, let's get into a little bit. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? We'll connect with the law part of it. But why don't you tell us where you live? You don't have to give your address, but just essentially, I don't think you want people to have that.
Yeah.
But why don't you tell us a little bit about it, right?
So I am a lawyer. I got started sort of later in life, but was in law school that I got an interest in shooting sports because law school is stressful. And there's lots of people, like, you need something that you can do in order to kind of, take your mind off it, de-stress a bit. And so I was like, I need a hobby. I need something. And I looked around at my peers, and a lot of them had sort of gone for a different hobby, which was drinking. And I thought, that does not have good long-term prospects. I need something different. But I remembered I'd enjoyed going planking as a kid. So I thought, well, maybe I'll get my firearms license. Maybe I'll, do that. And so I did, and I got a little 22 bolt action was my first, first rifle there. But then we read a case in one of our classes. I think it was like ethics, but where some young lawyer got himself an impaired, and he argued, well, this is going to be, destroying my career. So, go easy on me on the sentence. The judge is like, nope, going extra hard. And so they actually sent him to some jail time and so forth. So at the end of all of that, I sort of go, well, I am playing around with guns. I'm trying to be legal, but I better really know this because I don't want to get tripped up on something. And our gun laws are complicated. Like there's just so many things. So I started reading through like everything I could on firearm law. And my first thought was, I must be dumb. This makes no sense to me. So I kept reading and I got to the conclusion of, no. It's the law that's dumb because it makes no sense to anybody, including judges and police officers. And so at that point, I kind of had decided what I was going to do for my career, because when you end up with a firearm, or any sort of legal chaos like this, A, trying to disentangle it is a bit of fun, but B, you're talking about a group of people who, by and large, are trying to follow the law, right? They're most, when you're looking at sort of the average gun owner, they're people who are trying to stay within the four corners of the law. Right. The problem is that it's hard for a lot of people, and people get tripped up. I represented somebody at one point who got to the airport because they were going for a shooting competition in the States, and they had their handgun in a locked case, but they didn't have a trigger lock on it. And they didn't realize that you needed both. And so they end up getting arrested. And in terms of like a use of the court's time and so forth, I'm going, this guy really should have been sent home with, hey, you can pick up your gun at the police station in a week. And you better show up with a trigger lock, right? That would have been the ideal thing to do, is just say, buddy, you screwed this up, but like, we don't need to make this into a thing. But instead they make it into a huge thing. So this is kind of the issue. And whenever you've got people who are new into firearms, one of the things that they have is a ton of questions about, how do I actually follow the laws on this? Especially if they're getting into restricted firearms. Although I get a lot of questions now from people who are like, I just got into guns. How do I get a handgun? It's like,
right.
Time machine.
Yeah. Question we should have had a long time ago.
Yeah. Are you currently practicing law, or are you? Let's be real. You're a huge YouTube star. Are you making a living off of YouTube, or are you still practicing law?
I'm trying to get to the point where I'm making the living off of YouTube. Okay. The problem is that from lawyer, it's a little bit harder to make that jump, because if I'd started out as like, hey, I'm working, McDonald's or something, I'd have made the jump already. But lawyering, it's kind of a different thing. It's like, okay, when does this make sense? But the goal is to eventually have the YouTube channel sort of support me so that I can just do the law parts for free. Because you end up with cases where you're just like, okay, I really hate that I have to charge somebody for this. Yeah. I had some guy who lives in a trailer who got dinged because he went and he shot a moose just before last light. Because, for the non-hunters out there, you're either going to get your animal like in the 20 minutes after legal shooting or the 20 minutes before legal shooting ends. Those are sort of the sweet spots. And the rest of the day is kind of a crapshoot. So I sometimes will do things like, hunt the morning, nap, hunt the afternoon. But he shot this moose like right at the end of last light. And that moose went for a run. And moose really like the ugliest, swampiest, grossest territory that exists in, in Canada. So this thing went and it just took off through miserable stuff. And so finally, and he'd apparently hit one lung of the moose and not the other. So it was taking a while. But finally, this thing drops, and he's been pursuing it basically all night, like tracking it with a flashlight. And then he's got to drag it back to his truck. And, so he guts it out and he's dragging this moose. Moose are not an easy drag. This takes him a whole bunch of effort. And finally, he gets this moose loaded into his truck at about 7 a.m. He's been up all night doing heavy, heavy stuff. He is bagged out. So he throws his rifle in the back of the, back of the truck and drives on and runs into a fish and wildlife officer who's like, hey, I just need to see your moose. And checks the moose. Moose is fine. It's got tags, all of that. Like he wasn't out there poaching or anything like that. But they also check his rifle. And after he'd hit the moose, he'd chambered another one in case he, so if he got a good shot at the moose, he'd be able to take it. And because he was so bagged out, he forgot to unload the gun before he threw it in. Well, now it's this big thing. And I'm going, this guy does not, if he's listening, he didn't really have two pennies to rub together, right? He's, he's out there hunting moose because otherwise his family doesn't eat meat, right? They eat what they hunt, and that's it. And so now he's facing charges that, if convicted on, could have him lose his ability to have firearms and therefore be less able to hunt to feed his family. And people are like, oh, well, he could still use a bow. Sure, but that's challenge mode. And this guy's out there doing it to feed himself and his kids. So when you're trying to feed your kids, you don't want challenge mode. And so going to that guy and being like, hey, here's how much it's going to cost is kind of awful, right? And as much as I gave a discounted rate, it's still you have all of these expenses being a lawyer. It's, if you've got an assistant, you got to pay the assistant. If you've got, you've got to pay law society fees. You've got to pay, insurance, because lawyers are required to hold insurance in case we screw up. You got all of this stuff you've got to do. And there is, there's no sort of real option around it.
Yeah.
And, that's, so I want to do it for free if I can.
Yeah.
I love that. Thank you for sharing your stories, Ian. I think people can resonate with your stories. And I love that your goal is to be able to offer your legal advice for free because of your revenues from YouTube. So for anybody watching, listening now, or on YouTube later on, if this resonates with you and you can help those YouTube numbers go up, I think that's a commendable plan, effort, goal for you. So
well, and if you're watching right now, I'm sure I suspect you guys are monetized, so people, send your super chats here. These folks could use them. So I mean, it's chaotic. And as much, the other problem is that the police don't necessarily understand the law.
No, they don't.
The police, and the courts don't necessarily understand the law. So sometimes I end up in situations where somebody's been charged and it's just the dumbest possible thing. I had one, this one was kind of funny in its sort of messed up way. Police show up at a house, and they show up because there's been a report of a break and enter, right? The alarm goes off. And what it turns out is there was an attempted break and enter, but they didn't actually get in.
Okay.
But they go in and they find a bunch of guns in gun cases. And while they're there, the the guy of the home shows up and the police go, "Where's your firearms license?" And he says, "I don't have one." And they say, "Okay." And they arrest him and they pack all the guns up and so forth. And the problem is that they forgot to ask his wife.
Oh,
because those were all her guns.
Interesting.
dear.
And so finally, I get hired by her,
Yeah.
just to be like, "Can you
Get
sort
my guns
this?"
back.
And it's like,
Do
yeah,
you
he
think-
doesn't have a firearms license. He doesn't shoot. She does.
So I'm hearing, sorry, I was going to jump in. I'm hearing these great stories, and these are somewhat innocent situations where things happen. And because the law is confusing at best,
Right.
then they need professional help to unstick the situation. So
Yep.
if we now roll the clock from those situations into where we're at today, we've got this buyback program. We've had the order in council. We've had all these things happen. So if we didn't understand the law then, how are we ever going to understand what's going on? So can we start with that? Can you give us a background of where we're at on this federal assault program?
I mean, the assault style is meaningless. Just
Assault stuff. Yes.
but so what
forgot
happened
these.
is they had the Porta Peak shooting, and then the government immediately released their order in council, which they clearly had pre-written because there just wasn't enough time to write one up. So, but that took a lot of heat off the government for the failures around things like the fact that this guy was reported repeatedly for having illegal firearms, and the fact that the police shot up a fire hall, all of those things. It took the heat off the government in a big way.
Mhm.
Since then, they've had additional scandals, and they have responded to additional government scandals by banning more guns. The timing of it is always interesting in terms of like the Liberals start to get battered in the news, ban more guns. It takes the pressure off. But we now have this giant list of firearms that are banned, and all variants of those firearms, which it's not always clear what a variant is because variant has no actual definition. And so given that there's no actual definition, we've seen some guns get reclassified by the government deciding that they've always been a variant. And so how do you know if any particular gun is a variant? Well, you don't.
Correct. Yeah.
And, it can have no parts in common with the thing it's supposedly a variant of, and they'll still call it a variant. So right now, those are prohibited firearms, which means it's extremely illegal to have them, but for the amnesty, which means that if you step outside the amnesty, you are now in a lot of trouble. But the other problem I've seen come up is that the police don't necessarily know. They don't necessarily know the amnesty exists.
Mm-hmm.
And so, in one case, I'm familiar, there's a few of them, but police go into the house. They've got a warrant. Turns out later that their basis for the warrant was not good, but they had a warrant. And so they go in. They find a bunch of, all the firearms are properly stored, but they find that some of them are order in council banned firearms. And so when they run those guns in their system, what comes up is this is a prohibited firearm and this person does not have a license allowing them to have it.
Right.
And so the person ends up charged notwithstanding the amnesty, which is insane.
So they call
can
you?
get charged. So they called me. And
yeah,
I mean, the discussions with the Crown were kind of fun because I was like, these are all like, he can legally have those. And they were like, we don't think that's true because the police wouldn't make that mistake, but we're going to do the research to show how you're wrong.
Okay.
And then they sent back a thing saying, so you're not wrong, but we also don't want to give the guns back. And I'm like, show me some legal path to you get to keep the guns, because there is no such legal path. And finally they're like, well, why does he want them? He can't shoot them. He can't whatever. I'm like, maybe he wants to participate in the buyback, right? Like maybe he wants that cash. Are you going to pay him or will you give him the guns back? And they're like,
that was interesting response. Wow.
I mean,
so
well,
he gets the guns back. And then at that point, he's got to decide what he's going to do with them.
Yeah.
Because we've got that March deadline coming up. Now, I have firearms that are affected by the ban.
Okay.
And I have signed up 0 of them for this this buyback because I'm not interested. They're not for sale.
Yeah. So why don't we? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
I was just going to say what I was going to say is because there was a layered effect, right? So the OIC was announced in May in 2020. And now we're seeing, and there was the amnesty period, and it kept getting extended. And the amnesty period is until October 30th of 2026. But there's been some things that have recently taken place that have impacted people. And you talked about it. There's the registration, and it's March 31st. But why don't we back up just a little bit? Because you were talking about a buyback program. So there's some talk about it. And so the minister is saying that it's voluntary. So can we talk about whether it is actually voluntary or not?
So the only part of it that's voluntary is getting paid. Okay. Because they're saying you must turn them in or destroy or deactivate or whatever by the deadline. But it's voluntary as to whether you want to get money for them. Now, the thing is that it's voluntary on both ends because you can volunteer or not as to whether you want to sign up. But when you do, they can decide not to pay you. And they've budgeted for like 130,000 guns out of an estimated 2 million guns that are affected floating around. So, I mean, you can do the math on that and go like, I've got a little bit better than 5% of getting paid if everyone signs up. They've said it's first come, first serve, but some comments that we've heard suggest that the first come, first serve isn't quite true. Okay. That apparently they are favoring Quebec over other places because they don't want to piss off Quebec voters. So if you happen to live anywhere other than Quebec, the chances you get paid are even smaller. Sure. But for even more than that, they could just decide nobody gets paid. They have that ability to just say we're not paying anybody. Mm-hmm. But what they want is they want you to sign up, so they've set this deadline in March to sign up. And they've said, you need to sign up. And if you don't sign up, then you're not eligible to participate in the buyback. And what they're really hoping to do is create a registry. Because for a lot of these guns, they don't have a registry. Right. And so they don't know who has them. But if you tell them you have them, then they know. And it was actually funny because Carney in the House of Commons was asked about the buyback. And he Freudian slipped and he used the word registry.
Yes, he did.
And that was because that's exactly what the buyback is for. He knows it. They all know it. And so he Freudian slipped on that because that's the whole point, is to try to create like this registry. So, at that point, even if they decide they're not paying anybody, you're kind of committed because if you don't, if you don't show up, then like they will send people to your door. Right. They will cancel your firearms license. They will all sorts of things. So
yeah, that is something that that could be a repercussion. There's a couple other things that my brain is being tweaked with it. So let's say somebody has. I'm going back to it because, as I said, there's a layering effect. So what we do know is that the government has decided to move forward with it. They did the pilot in January with Cape Breton, and there was
25 guns. I think it was.
Right. I think there was 16 people, but there was 22 that were handed in.
Yeah.
And then they had a request under ATIP to turn over what they got, and they redacted out every detail.
Yes, except for the number of the gun. So and we don't need to know who turned it in. We want to know which guns were turned in.
They just wanted the make and model, right?
Correct.
So were these ARs? Were they old Coues? Right? What was turned in? So
right.
Yeah.
Because that's also something a lot of people think that they're the big black scary guns and variants, but people don't understand it's also hunting rifles. It is a single shot. It's 22s. And these are the types of things that were being asked for on that ATIP. We want to see what was turned in, right?
And a lot of gun owners don't realize it either.
Yeah.
Conversation I've had multiple times is somebody goes, well, I don't care. Those are all bad guns, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't affect me. You know, the sort of FUD, if it doesn't affect me, I don't care kind of thing.
Yes.
And then you're like, well, okay, you know, it doesn't affect you. What guns do you have? You know, tell me the guns you have. And then they go through it and I'm like, and it affects you. What do you mean? Oh, that SVT 40 is banned now. And they're like, what? I've been hunting with that for years. Okay, but it's banned now. Like, you can't hunt with that. It is now a serious crime if you do.
Yeah.
And then they're like, wow, wow, wow. And it's like, dude, you know, this affects you. And even if it isn't somebody, you know, even if it doesn't affect you, if you're the hunter who goes through a box of 303 every, you know, or 30-30 every year, getting your rifle sighted in and shooting 2 shots to get a deer, well, your local gun store isn't staying in business for you.
Yeah.
Your local gun store doesn't like you very much because you've got that rifle that you've been using since you were a kid and you probably got from your dad. And you buy a box of ammo once a year. They like the guy who comes in and, you know, is buying a new handgun every 3 months. They like the guy who's going through a case of 9mm every 2 weeks. Those are the customers that they want to see, like that they like and that keep. Those are the customers that keep the business open.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
True.
those are the customers who are being targeted by this. So it's going to be real hard for those gun stores to stay in business just on the, well, I buy 1 box of ammo a year.
Mm.
No,
You know,
absolutely.
okay.
From cleaning supplies to, you know, to the ammo to
all of this stuff is
all of it. Yeah.
You know, it's the people who are out there shooting who are using this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So really it's the competitive shooters that keep the gun stores open. And like, that's just it. Hunters are not a big business model.
Yeah, but they also have to recognize that, and it's been said that, you know, Poly is decided, and this is a lot. When we talk about Quebec, we are also talking about Poly as well, who are, again, part, now we have someone from them that's part of or is an MP, and is the driving force behind this. And they've said, and the government, Liberal government has said that also that all guns are at risk right now. So it doesn't matter, you know, if you're a hunter or if you're a sports shooter or pistol shooter, your gun.
Well, and the other thing is the more damage they can do to the shooting community, they're just going to chop pieces off of the community over and over until eventually there's nothing.
Through attrition too. Yeah, everything's going to close. So,
I mean, the goal isn't, you know, they say, oh, yeah, we just want to get these assault style, whatever. The goal is to get everything.
Correct.
Right. So, and you already see Polly, who again has outsized government influence, you know, floating things like, you know, sniper scopes and so forth. And I mean, going out hunting, I can't recall the last time I ran into somebody who was shooting with irons. You know, it's not really done a whole lot. Occasionally you'll find somebody who's like running a stock SKS or Lee Enfield, but not often. It's not real common.
No, not especially in Alberta where you are. It's a little bit more common here in Ontario where it's 40 or 50 meters. But
I was just going to say we have much longer field ranges, absolutely. So scopes come in.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm taking a deer, it's probably at like, you know, 100, 150 yards.
Sub 200,
Not, you know, usually it's the 100 to 200 sort of area.
Come to Ontario where it's 50.
Yeah. I mean, you see the deer sees you, but it isn't yet worried because you're 150 yards out. You're like, okay, that's kind of the ideal spot, right? You can line up on it and you can take your shot and, if you're zeroed for 200, the difference between 150 and 200 is not going to matter, so.
But now you're saying scopes are bad because snipers use them. Is that what you're saying?
Well, that's going to be the language is, Canadian hunters don't need sniper rifles. And, it's going to be like, well, these aren't sniper rifles. This is just what this is just what hunting is about.
Plain old hunting rifle.
It's also optics. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Kat.
No, I was just going to say, go ahead, Deneen. I know that you're itching to get towards the March 31st deadline.
Well, what I wanted to keep, we were doing this kind of chronological conversation, and we talked about the pilot phase, and then I got something in my email. I think everybody else did on January 19th. The RCMP sent out these notifications, and so what was the reaction to those notifications? Did everybody run out? Well, I didn't, but and register. Yeah.
I mean, right now so they had a big announcement about how they got 20,000 registrations in the first week.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the third week, they put out an announcement about the 20,000 registrations they've got. And I'm like, that flatlined hard.
So that's the same 20,000 each week.
So
it's, it's just people aren't signing up. No. And this creates a real problem for them because they don't want to end up picking a fight with like as many gun owners as they picked a fight with.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's.
So let's talk about picking a fight. Let's talk about March 31.
Yep.
What are the ramifications if people do not register by March 31 and has the fight begun? I think it actually began a while ago, but where are we at in it?
If you don't register by the March deadline, then you cannot participate in the buyback. Now they may end up extending that deadline, but they may not because ultimately they don't want to pay people.
Sure.
So so that's kind of that's what that cutoff means. But it doesn't mean that it's illegal to hold on to those firearms past that deadline. And in fact, even the people who sign up are going to still have the guns at the deadline because the deadline is just to do the sign up. So, I mean, I've had people say, well, if you still have a gun after March, you're a criminal. It's like, no, that's not how that works. But, so we've got this whole thing and, so, after that, it's just, you are not eligible to get the money, but the October deadline is the bigger deadline. Because if they don't extend the amnesty, then, at that point,
you have to do something.
You're no longer protected from criminal prosecution. So everybody who has one is in violation of the law. Right. And I suspect the starting point isn't going to be like, we're going to raid everyone right away. What they're going to do is they're going to start out with, all right, so we're going to, we're going to revoke people's firearms licenses.
Yeah, don't give any good ideas live here, by the way.
So just hold on a second.
They already know. They've already said this.
Yeah,
right?
so
this is all. So
they've talked about it with firearms license. They've also talked about driver's license, other government issued benefits as well, passports, etc.
Yeah.
So, but I have to actually bring this up because I think it's really important. So going back to what you said, so the March 31st is anybody who participates in the registration. It's essentially it's a long gun registry, right?
Yeah.
And so therefore they are aware because there's guns that are out in the wild that were never actually restricted and then became prohibited. And so they don't know that you have them. So there was 22,000 people who did register within the first week. And the government was saying that some of them came from Alberta, the registry, some of them from Saskatchewan and Quebec, etc. I think people, when they first got people who were going to register, they're going to register during the first week. And then people are also procrastinators as well. And we may see another little bump right before the March 31st. And that's my thoughts and feelings. It may be wrong, but hey.
I mean, they really pushed you need to sign up right away because they wanted to get a big number at the start.
Yeah. Well,
but the problem with that is that it means that lots of other people will not be signing up. So,
correct.
Yeah.
But what we've seen since the 19th, when the RCMP sent out, is we've seen the public's response. We've also seen provincial and territorial response. And then now we're actually seeing police forces, municipal, provincial police force, and also national as well. And we know what national police force we're talking about. So before we get to the amnesty expiring, I want to talk about the responses from the provinces and territories, because there's nuances to that as well. So the provinces and territories, which provinces have publicly stated that they're not going to be participating?
I mean, most of them. I haven't, I got to keep track of all of that because, but
I think
a lot of that is more of a political issue than a legal issue. So
Right.
it's less on my radar. But Alberta and Saskatchewan are the big ones, because Alberta and Saskatchewan are not just not participating, but they're also putting up legal barriers to participation.
Right.
And so what that ultimately means is it doesn't protect you from the end of the amnesty, but it does mean that you can't participate in the buyback. So, that...
I don't know if people know that, and that's one of the reasons. But I've also... So the only provinces that said that they will participate, or sorry, not the only... Yeah, okay, I can phrase it that way. So Quebec and BC will participate, and then also Northwest Territories have also indicated... First, excuse me. First, they said they weren't going to participate, but now they said they are. So they've taken a step back on it. So with that,
some provinces are just shaking down the government for more money. Other provinces are taking more of an ethical stance.
Right.
So, I mean, one of the big problems for a lot of the provinces and a lot of the police forces is the issue of, this is going to be a huge logistical nightmare.
Correct. Yeah.
It's going to cost an insane amount of money to get all this done. And there is huge potential for this to go wrong in the worst ways.
Yeah.
Because if you are some police force and then suddenly you're sitting there, trying to hold on to all these guns, these are going to be targets. There's a very real possibility that these guns get targeted, especially in places where they're doing mobile collection units and so forth. Because, I mean, right now, these guns are not stolen very often. And when they are, they're basically, these are not guns that you see used in crime. They're... Do
you want to say that aloud for the people in the back and the government that's listening?
Well, the thing is that most of the guns on this list have never been used in a homicide in Canada.
Correct.
And if you extend that to lawfully owned, then it gets to be even less. Even fewer of these guns, have been lawfully owned and used in a homicide in Canada. And so, we're not talking about preventing homicides through these measures, but what we... But you may see criminals decide, there's going to be 100 guns at this one spot. All we need to do is get that 100 guns. And then they might be, there might be targeting.
It creates a target-rich environment for bad guys.
Yep. Correct. And some of the proposals have had Canada Post involved, and Canada Post was like, are you kidding? No. Because at one point their proposal was, we're going to give special boxes to gun owners that they can put the gun in and
identified. It's easy.
And I was just like, so that's insane. Because can you imagine that box arrives in in wherever it's going and it's empty? Because the question is, did the gun owner send an empty box? Yeah. Did somebody along the way cut into that? And, so how come that box is empty, right? You'd never know. You'd never be able to show anything. And it's a big, giant nightmare. Yeah. There's going to be guns that go missing, right? There's going to be guns where somebody checks it in and puts it in, one of those 22,000. Although you will see some attrition as well. Some of the people who signed up will not end up delivering. So you'll see some attrition on that too. But, there will be situations where like a gun gets checked in and they're like, it never made it.
Well,
so that's going to be a whole thing.
We've seen that recently with the Halifax police force, but I digress. But it's a good segue for a question that I have, because we have seen, so the National Police Force is the RCMP. They will do the bidding of the government. We know that. Provincial police forces, I live in Ontario, the OPP has said they will not participate. And then we've seen multiple municipal, and it's mostly it has to do with resources. There is no solid plan. And not only that, we're trying to direct the limited resources we do to actually preventing crime, because this is not an issue. It is, some have said funding, but we've also seen two particular chiefs, so the Winnipeg police chief and also the Halifax police chief, that have indicated that they will be part of the confiscation. And if you call it buyback, it's not really, in my opinion, it's not really a buyback, it's a confiscation, because there's not going to be enough money anyways for it. However, the Winnipeg police chief, as well as I said, the Halifax police chief, those two provinces, so Nova Scotia has said that they're not going to be participating, as well as Manitoba, they said they're not going to be participating. So I have a question. You may or may not be able to answer this, but in the research that I've done, so when the province has indicated that they're not going to be participating, the provincial minister of safety, or the solicitor general, has made the announcement that does the municipal police forces, they are subject to any protocols or policies that the minister of safety puts out. They must comply with that, must they not?
I mean, police forces have a lot of discretion. In theory, a police officer can see you committing a murder and decide to exercise their discretion to not arrest you. I mean, in practice, there's no way that would happen. But when you start talking about things like, but the thing is the buyback is kind of an extracurricular activity.
Correct.
Right? So you could say they have a duty to enforce the law in terms of like going after people who have stuff post-ban, but that doesn't mean that they have to do public safety's sort of, task, like their job work in the meantime, right? They don't have, that's not on their list of things that they have to do. So they can really say, sir, this is a Wendy's. We don't do that. And so the police forces have every right to say, yeah, we're not participating in this, because really, this is outside of their policing duties. This is their being recruited to, or basically being used as labor to handle, a dirty job. And yeah.
I also see it as something that could be hugely, the blowback will be, and that's the name of our episode, the blowback, or the implications or the ramifications. What's taking place down in the US right now with let's just put it on the table with ICE and other things. And I'm not going to say that it will take place, but I could see potentially that taking place, where somebody goes to go and retrieve these firearms, and there be some not great things happen. Because
there is the potential, and I cynically think that they might be hoping for it with the government.
I agree with you.
I cynically think that they might be fishing to see some sort of chaos happen for the purpose of then saying, well, clearly we need to go after those gun owners because they're super dangerous, because this guy, but I mean, we've already heard things like, there's some rural reserves that have basically said, you're not coming here.
Yep.
You're not coming to collect. Sorry. And I mean, do they want to pick those fights? I suspect not. I suspect what they'll do is say, well, we're not going to do any sort of organized anything. We'll just arrest people and seize guns, and they might even just seize guns without laying charges just to try to minimize, but I mean, they're going to be finding these guns for decades.
Yeah.
Right. It's going to be, and a fair number of it'll just be people who didn't know. Right. Like, oh yeah, this M1 carbine, who thought that was illegal? Nobody. Right. Because it doesn't look, when people say assault style, it doesn't look like what people are thinking of. It, it's a wood-stocked gun. It looks just like a pretty bog standard anything.
Right.
So and I mean, they're going to have to deal with the press of people getting arrested and charged for this.
Absolutely.
Going, what?
Well, that's another.
Hey, that farmer is going to jail now.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So I just want to dip into that point that was being made. Ian, you said it's extracurricular for their day job. So we've heard announcements that RCMP Reserve, retired police, military, public servants are all going to be out potentially collecting. Are they able? Are they protected by the Police Act and able to collect these firearms lawfully?
It'll be real interesting because they have to be, peace officers under the criminal code.
Correct.
And I don't know that some of the people that they're wanting to talk to. And so it may actually be a situation like they roll up and it's some retired officer and it's like, sir, I can't give you this gun. That
Show
would be
me your
weapons
pal.
trafficking.
Yeah.
And our pal.
That would be weapons trafficking.
Yeah.
I can't give you the gun because you don't have the authority for me to give it to you. So how do you want that?
So legally, the public servants just, I was gobsmacked when they said that because no, God, unless you can possess a pal or a pal. So anybody again, the research that I was doing is anybody who's retired law enforcement who doesn't have a pal or a pal, because to be law enforcement, particularly RCMP, etc., like corrections. I'm in corrections, and you weren't required to have a pal or a pal as part of your job. You are now, by the way. Therefore, when you retire, you're no longer protected by the Police Services Act. You have to have a pal in order for you to.
The thing is, a pal doesn't mean shit in this scenario.
That's correct. I know.
Because I can't give you my AR, even though you've got a pal, because it's prohib. So the pal doesn't mean anything. It just means nothing whatsoever, right?
It meant something once, but not now.
Yeah.
In this situation.
So I think when they were talking about the rollout, so they were talking about roving, and again, picture it, these roving bands of retired police and public servants with trucks and trailers and going around looking for guns. Yeah, I just picture that. I know that's not what it's going to be, but still. But that's what our government is telling us is going to be taking place.
Well, and if those aren't also targets, they can't be driving down the road with a regular vehicle and a regular trailer by any means, because they would need like a Brinks truck kind of thing. And so, like, to your point, it goes from ridiculous to even more ridiculous.
The notion you can take like a couple of retired officers and have them going and collecting a whole bunch of these guns, I'm like, I'd want a 4-man team on that with like ready to play, because you're taking them from the law-abiding gun owners who are not the problem, and now you're making a big target for the non-law abiding gun owners. And so the question is like, all right, so if the local street gang or the Hells Angels or whoever decides they want to take one of those vehicles, what's your game plan to stop them? And it better not be 2 retired, unarmed officers, because at that point, I mean, you're basically just putting those guys out to die. And I mean, that would just be, It's insane that they're risking that. I'm surprised that anybody might be signing up for this job. Like, hey, you're retired. You want to make some extra money? Well, the pension isn't really doing it. Okay, so what we want you to do is go collect a bunch of guns and drive around in this big target marked vehicle. Pension's looking really good right now. Like that fixed income, I don't need much. Like, and that's without things like the Toronto police.
Yeah.
Where they just had 9 officers busted for
Right.
corruption. And I'm thinking, so what if those officers are the ones doing the collecting? Hey, 10 guns didn't make it. All right, because it'd be really easy for them to collect a bunch of guns and just not log them in, at which point later the gun owner gets blamed because it's like, you have an AR that you never turned in. He's like, I turned it in. We got no record of that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we might actually start seeing ARs used by criminals because we're creating this scenario to give them a whole bunch of them.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
The majority of police that, whether it's retired or active, that I've spoken with, I have several friends that are, in OPP, RCMP, etc., friends, family, etc. They are not wanting to participate in this personally themselves. They just feel like it is a huge waste of time, but morally it's just not right. It's not correct. A lot of people are having that moral dilemma within themselves about, I'm supposed to be upholding the law, and here we have this that I feel is something that is even I don't want to participate in. Many of them own, excuse me, some of the guns that are prohibited as well, and they would have to turn them in.
Oh, I mean, there's going to be police forces deciding, hey, are we going after, Bob? Because like a lot of police own these guns.
Right.
There's a lot of police who bought ARs because they either are on a tactical team or they want to be on a tactical team.
Right.
And so they're trying to, they're trying to get better. And then, and I mean, it's in everybody's interest that they be good with their guns, right? Because every bullet fired goes somewhere. And if they've got to shoot a bad guy, I want the bullets to end up in the bad guy.
Yeah, so that's such a good point. I just want to reiterate it. Lots of cops, lots of people that use guns professionally that are meant to be protecting us have their own personal firearms that they use for practice so that they have good skills when they're called upon. And those firearms are absolutely on these lists as well. So
correct.
That's one.
They're not able to bring them to the range. There is an exemption for police officers, but it's just for their the guns,
duty issued.
Their duty issued guns, right? It's not for their own personal property. So let's go back to the provinces and participating, because I think this is pertinent to people whether they're going to comply with registration. So you mentioned a little bit. You mentioned about the provinces that are not participating, specifically Alberta and Saskatchewan. I know that for sure, but I do believe it's other like Ontario as well as Manitoba, particularly because the premier of Manitoba, he's letting it be known, right? If the province is not participating, you will not get compensation, correct?
Correct.
Right.
Unless they figure out some way around it. But there's a lot of people who are, so, I mean, I've had some people in Alberta say, hey, how do I participate? And it's like, well, you can't.
Mm-hmm.
You're SOL on that. So, even if you want to. But, yeah.
So it's interesting when the public safety minister published week 3 that we've collected 22,000, or we have 22,000 guns that are registered, and that includes Saskatchewan and Alberta. So the people that are registered in Saskatchewan and Alberta, just know that you're not going to be compensated.
the other thing I wonder and is, are those 22,000, does that include the pre-populated registered guns?
Yeah.
Because what I suspect is that they juiced their numbers by adding in all of the ARs that they already knew about, and are just like, our collection thing is there. So yeah.
So I have a suggestion for you. Why don't you do an ATIP? I doubt you'll get any answers.
Because my last ATIP is like 6 years and waiting.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Well, to your point, Ian, one of the comments made during tonight's show from Nick Cressman was that those 22,000 likely came from the existing list of non-restricted firearms. So, obviously that's a conversation that's percolating out there. There are known restricted guns out there that are now on the prohib list. So it's easy to write that list down and say, well, we know about these ones. And so that bumps up the numbers for sure. For
I mean, I did an ATIP on the Buttmaster. Yes. Because they were proposing to ban the Buttmaster. Now, amusingly, the Buttmaster is actually already banned in Canada.
Yes, it is.
Because it's a short-barreled handgun, so it's already banned, but they wanted to ban it specifically by name, and people were like, what the hell? And so I put in an ATIP, and I was like, all discussions involving the Buttmaster. And they have still not gotten me anything about it, but they keep trying to reach out and be like, can we give you a completely different request? No. And I'm like, no, I want the Buttmaster details. Like, not, they're like, so one of the things they think, I forget exactly what it was, but it was something like, we can give you the list of prohibited firearms. And I was like,
no, I already got that.
Why the fuck would I want that? I can Google that. Like, I want to know, like, why the Buttmaster got on this list, how the Buttmaster got on this list. So, yeah.
I love the fact that you just said Buttmaster like 20 times.
Right. So, for some people that are commenting on our live show here, there's somebody that really likes it. Somebody from south of the border at whoever 420 is fond of the name, but also had some great comments going along with the theme of our podcast today. So can we get into, we've talked about provinces, we've talked about restrictions on compensation. And we've talked about the possibilities and how ridiculous these potential possibilities of collecting guns are. Can we talk about options, Ian? Can we talk about where does this leave us? Can we talk about, in your opinion, Ian, where are we at and what can we do? What do you think might happen? Show me your crystal ball, Ian.
There aren't a whole lot of good options.
Right.
The government might blink. And so, like, there's going to be a lot of people holding out to see if the government will blink on the bans. But, I have I cannot mess around with violating the law. I've got my own things that I might try to do that don't work for you per se. But one of the things that is an option is that if a prohibited firearm is destroyed, you have to report the destruction. Okay. And destroyed in this context takes enough damage that it cannot function as a firearm and cannot be readily repaired to be a firearm. So, for instance, if you put it in a water jet cutter and you cut it lengthwise, you would get a very interesting display piece, but you're not going to be able to make that a gun again, right? No. There's no amount of like JB Weld and epoxy and so forth that will make you able to stick those two halves again and have it fire in a way that doesn't like make a pipe bomb. But you're required to, and the simplest thing you could do is, there's people who are like, okay, I don't want this gun. Get the wheel grinder in the garage and just grind it to nothing. You can do that. It is legal.
Yep.
But you're required to report the destruction of the firearm to the government. You are not, however, required to provide them with proof or the bits or anything like that. Those are yours. So you report that it's destroyed, and they will have to take your word for it, which is going to make them super nervous. Now, the thing is you don't want to fuck around with this and falsely report something destroyed, because if you do that, that's a criminal offense, and you are setting yourself up for a world of shit, because eventually that thing will get found. You are not lucky enough to get away with things. Everybody thinks they are, but it's going to be somebody else that gets away with it, not you. Somebody finds you shooting it in the back 40. They run the serial number. They go, this was reported destroyed by you. So don't do that. But, if it's reported as destroyed, well, they have to take your word for it. And it's gonna like terrify them, because they're gonna be like, how do we know? Well, you don't. Trust me. So, it's going to be interesting to see how that goes, but so that does give an option there. So,
okay. So what are the other options as well? You can turn in the gun. You can absolutely
turn in the gun.
100%.
You can have it deactivated. If you have it deactivated, they will pay you a little bit of money for deactivation. The thing is, if you want to get it deactivated, get in line now, because the gunsmiths are booked solid. And I don't mean like booked solid on deactivations. I mean, I needed to have a piece replaced on a shotgun I have, and it took 9 months for like them to source the part and swap the part in. Gunsmiths are stupid busy because there's just not enough gunsmiths for, whatever.
Or parts.
Especially if it's anything unusual. If it's an AR, they can get parts real fast, but my Savage, they were like, yeah.
So you can turn it in.
Reminds me, I'm buying a gun, so I got to send them the money right now.
Okay. Multitasking.
Oh yeah, 100%.
We're talking about guns. We're buying guns. We're talking about deactivating. We're talking about destroying. You do have to tell them you destroyed it.
I'm buying something cool.
Oh, what are you buying?
I'm buying an MSAR.
Okay.
Which is it's very similar. It's a lookalike to the Starog.
Yes, it is.
Now it doesn't have the fun switch on it, but still, and the government considers it to be prohibited, because of course they do. So, yeah.
But you have license. Okay.
I've got the license. I'm getting it
You're good.
all legal. It'll all be
you're
fine.
legal. We're not transacting illegal things on She Shoots. Okay, so you can either deactivate it, you can destroy it, you could turn it in, let's talk about this. Can you disassemble, like if you have an AR, can you disassemble it and only turn in
you can strip it down and only turn in the like the critical parts. That is an allowed thing.
Yep.
You can transfer it to somebody who's able to take it, whether that's somebody who's out of the country, or film armors is basically the other category. So
correct.
I'm one, but you don't have to necessarily give me the thing. There's some other people. The thing is that a lot of the guns people have, the film armors are not going to be super inclined to take, because they're just going to be drowning in ARs right now. And they already were, right? Because the film armors, they do a lot of movies, and the AR is a popular firearm for movies. So they already had like 100 ARs on a rack. Your AR, it's like one more.
Right.
But if you've got something neat, something unusual, they might be interested. The problem is you're probably going to get less for it than you would like, because
that's more than the government's going to give us.
Well, and I can't imagine there's a plethora of film armors, just like there aren't a bunch of gunsmiths. And so if this idea has percolated along, they're going to have a lot in their inbox to deal with.
Yeah.
So,
I suspect there's less than like 25 in the country.
right,
Yeah.
exactly.
So, yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
There's only
It's
so
not
many you can get.
realistic. Yeah.
No.
The number of people who've reached out and been like, so can I give you my AR lower? And I'm like, I actually don't have any use for a lower, and it doesn't make sense for me to like just keep the lower. So, like, I don't know. I don't really want the lower. So, yeah.
So here's the big question, Ian. Do you see this confiscation actually stopping? Do you see any of this grinding to a halt before the deadline in October?
That's more of a question for a politician or a fortune teller. I'm a lawyer. I can't really predict the future.
Sure.
And if I could predict the future, I would love to be able to predict the future. I would start with lottery numbers.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
all right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I saw that Casey had jumped on. I don't know, Casey, if you had a question that you wanted to ask Ian, or if you were going to post all of the information on how we can get a hold of Ian. So let's ask Ian, where can people find you? And
Runkle of the Bailey on YouTube. So if you just search Runkle, Runkle, it'll pop up. And on Twitter, Ian Runkle is... I think if you search Runkle, I come up as the top entry on both. So,
and what is a Runkle?
It's my last name.
Okay, well,
so it's me. There's not a lot of Runkles out there. It's a very unusual last name. I think I'm actually the only Runkle in Alberta. So there's probably some other Runkles elsewhere. Well, I know there's some Runkles in like other provinces, but
that was funny. I meant to say of the Bailey. I meant to say, what is a Bailey, not a Runkle?
And, it's the hat. She was trying to get to. I knew what she was. But
yeah, and so I just stuck my foot in my mouth and embarrassed myself on.
So okay. There's
but, now we know what the Runkle and the Bailey is. So I'm glad we've at least picked that up.
The Bailey is it's the old courthouse in the UK, and so there was an old show and book, Rumpole of the Bailey.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of a shout out to that.
Got
it's kind of a nod to that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for saving me in that. Very
it's all good.
So before we close out, we're going to get Casey to come on because there may be a few questions. I know that there's been a lot of commenting on some of the things that we've been talking about, but do you have any final words of wisdom for people? Excuse me. About the quote unquote buyback, let's call it for what is, the confiscation for Canadians. What are your words of wisdom for them?
Mine? Well,
yeah. No.
Yes. Sucks to be us is kind of what it comes down to.
It does.
But, keep fighting. That's all we can do.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Push back every way you can, and we'll see where this goes. So,
yeah. The more that we push back, you never know. There might be some retraction. I doubt it.
Right.
Yeah, but.
Well, one of the things, just to that point, when we were deciding that the She Shoots podcast was going to take a new direction, one of the things we talked about, Ian, is that women have a very strong voice, and they've got a vote, and they influence their families and their social media circles. And so we would really like to reach out to any women out there that are even curious about firearms and finding out the truth and becoming educated as to what is in conversation tonight, and how big, bad, and scary, if you will, some of these firearms are not in the hands of these vetted gun owners. And so that's why She Shoots in a large way is online, and it's for people to know that women have a voice in this, and we would like to help any women that don't feel comfortable or are curious to reach out to us to know more. So,
and there's a lot of women out there who are kind of nervous about shooting.
Yeah,
and don't be. It's awesome. So sorry, I cut you off there. You were about to say something.
No, that is. I think it was a great conversation tonight.
Yeah.
Casey, did you come up with any questions?
No, it's been mostly comments so far. I mean, we can open it up, and if anybody's got any questions for Ian, this is a good time. So give them a couple minutes. And I just wanted to, if you are planning on exporting to the U.S., you got to make sure that the U.S. will actually take the guns as well.
Yes,
So,
that is the big wrinkle, because the U.S. is actually really restrictive on, everybody thinks of like the U.S. as like this gun amusement park, and they're actually super restrictive on what they'll take.
mm-hmm.
So like if it's Chinese or Soviet in origin, they won't take it. If it originated in the US, they won't take it back. There's like a ton of rules. So I think you've actually got a better shot of exporting your Lee Enfield to the US than you do of like your SVT 40. So
Wow.
Yeah.
That is a whole other conversation. What guns and why? Hey, it's a whole other conversation.
And I mean, I'm not a U.S. lawyer, so navigating the U.S. law aspects of things is, well,
the U.S. laws also pertain to each specific state too. They have federal, but they also have each specific state. Their laws are just, the intricacies are just all over the place. So you have
it's
to
also
be
a very long process, which is what
Yes.
we're going through right now.
Yeah. So looking through some of the comments, most of them are very supportive, obviously, of us and our plight. There's some people that are came to listen because they are subscribers to you, Ian, as well. So thank you for that. And some people from the US are also participating in the conversation too. So that's really cool to see, educating our friends down to the south. So
there's a lot of people in the States going, what the
What
heck is
the
going
hell?
on up there?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely, there are.
All
So, but
right.
it doesn't look like we're going to get any new questions. It's all been mostly comments, and we do appreciate the comments, and we also very much appreciate your time with us tonight, Ian. So I want to thank you for joining us and helping us kick off season 5 of the She Shoots podcast. So it was a pleasure having you, and hopefully we're having this conversation this time next year, and we're all celebrating that something indeed did pivot and change to our favor. So.
Yeah, we're hoping that. So
it would be lovely to have a celebration stream at some point. So
wouldn't it? All right. We'll do it.
Thanks again so much. Yeah, thanks Ian for coming on. Always a pleasure to have you on our show, as well as giving us your thoughts. They're always so informative and really unique as well. So every time I talk to you, I think about things in a little bit of a different manner. So I want to thank you about that too. So
well, thank you so much. And as I said, keep doing what you're doing, because it's important. And there's way too many sort of male gun influencers or content that is aimed at guys. Like, all right. And so it's good to have discussions that are like, all right, this is a world that isn't just, some guy with like a beard down to his navel. There's a place for everybody here.
Absolutely.
It reminds me of what the story you were telling about the officers that came, right? And they arrested the guy, but the guns were the women's, his wife.
The officers made a little assumption that it's got to be the guy who owns the guns. And then it was like, this is awkward. And the Crown prosecutor was not really keen on it until I was like keen on unwinding all of this, until I was like, hey, you do realize that at the end of the day, I'm going to be bringing a charter application alleging discrimination on this, right? And they're like,
for you.
When can we get you the guns back? So things went away in a real hurry when they realized that they actually had a giant sexism problem on that one.
Right.
So,
oh my gosh.
But yeah, no, I love seeing it. I want to see more of it. And, partially that's selfish, because when they, whenever they want to ban something, you've heard the sort of usual lines about like, oh, this is compensating or whatever. they have a lot harder time using that language with you folks than they do with me. And it's like, oh yeah, compensating for what exactly? And you know, you watch them go, so yeah. Anyway, thank you so much. I'll dip out and let you guys finish up. Cheers.
All right.
Thank
And good
you.
luck with that gun purchase, by the way.
That's right.
I should all be done. So hopefully at some point there'll be a video playing around with that. So
Oh, we'll have to go and look at it.
Good luck.
Thank
All right.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
All right.
All
Well,
right.
Regina to wrap everything up.
I know, but
Amazing.
she's not here. So why don't we get into upcoming events? I know that when you, Deneen, why don't you do yours first? I'll do Maple Seed and then we'll get into the outro.
Sure, absolutely. Well, I don't have any particular events on. I'm working with a couple of ladies that were recipients of the women's empowerment packages, which is a day shooting with me. So we're working on getting them in these nicer winter days, and it's time to think about spring and getting out some target shooting and doing some stuff when the weather gets nice, and maybe signing up for Project Maple Seed. So I think that getting your guns checked over, getting them cleaned, whatever it is you do to get ready for your shooting season, I can tell you that spring is feeling very close, and that means the range is calling. And that's for those people that maybe wait for a nicer day. I certainly know we've met a lot of people that don't care the weather; they get out anyway. But when it's not hunting season, we should be perfecting our craft in the range, or just having fun and getting out with friends and family doing it.
Yeah, wholeheartedly agree. And I do want to say that Alberta is having the Ontario winter and vice versa. So we're not doing as much outdoors currently right now, but hopefully that'll change soon. So specific to Project Maple Seed, we are planning our events calendar, and that it does include some of our women's events, which I'm super excited about. But go to the website. So it's mapleseedrifleman.com. You can go to the event section, and as we confirm dates, they'll be populated in the event section or the calendar that's there. If you have a club that's looking for an event, send us an email at info@mapleseedrifleman.com, and I'll try and respond, or what I'll do is I'll put you in contact with whatever province you're from, the coordinator from that province, and see if we can get some events taking place too. Want to remind everybody also that next month, March 8th, it's International Women's Day. If you are a woman, go to the range and just show how excited that you are to be a woman in shooting. If you have any events that are going to be taking place as well, just let us know. We'd love to promote them for you. But yeah, Rahina will be on for our next episode. But I'm going to close this out. We just want to remind you again that we want to hear from you, our listeners. So send us an email at sheshootspodcast.com. And you can always, as we say, like to join us, and you can comment on what type of guests you want to hear, what topics you want to suggest, or if you want to be a sponsor, come and let us know. We could always use a sponsor. Again, if you're hosting a range day or a competition, just let us know, particularly if it's for women or families. We'd love to hear about it, but we'd also like to promote it too. Right now, we're streaming our videos on the She Shoot podcast. It's, on She Shoots podcast on YouTube, but you can also check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and iHeartRadio. So all the places where you download and listen to podcasts, you can catch us out there. Please go to our YouTube channel and follow us there and subscribe. You know that whole things. Click, subscribe. Instagram. Instagram, Facebook. Currently, right now, Facebook, we love it. Prior to us getting our own Facebook page, that's where we got a lot of our viewers and listeners. But currently right now we're just navigating some of the challenges with that, with being a new Facebook page. We hopefully at some point expect to just be able to do Facebook Live. Currently right now, any shows that are coming up, we are linking our YouTube channel. You can also check us out on Lady Guns as well. So we'd like to see you every month. Come back and see us the second Tuesday of every month. And, we're live every second Tuesday of the month. So if you're in the BC. It's going to be at 5 p.m. PST. Mountain is 6 p.m. Center of the Earth, or also known as Ontario, it's 8 p.m. Uh, and that's about it. So we just want to say thank you again to Ian for coming on tonight and all the information about the confiscation. And it's great
all
to
of our listeners too.
yeah, and anybody that's listened and made comments too. We really appreciate your support. And to Deneen and to Casey, thanks for making this a great episode and a great start to season 5. And to Rahina, we miss you, but we hope that your class went well. And we're going to see you next month. So everyone, have a good night.